Symbols on a craft by an experiencer, Chris Bledsoe. Many of you will know of his story. Look again, it looks random, it looks, strangely geometric, but again, it's what's seen on the craft. And what I have been told by a number of experiencers, when they see these symbols on the craft, what seems to happen is they unpack themselves and give information or directions. So what we're seeing is, a two-dimensional, but a multi-dimensional bit of information, although it looks two-dimensional. The next slide, please. Dr. Francis Crick was co-founder of the DNA molecule, and he said something very, very profound, because he always believed that we were intelligently designed. He said they programmed the molecules so that when we reached a certain level of intelligence, we'd be able to access their information and therefore teach us about ourselves. And this is crucial because there's so much coming out about our understanding of what our DNA is and the holographic DNA. So next slide, please. So here is something really important, and it's been acknowledged many times in science, but particularly the science team in Russia. They demonstrated human language does not appear coincidentally, but is a reflection of human DNA. And we have to take in the star language, the light language, plus the scripts here, because both are very significant here. Because they're saying the vibrational behavior of DNA demonstrated that living chromosomes function just like a holographic computer. They modulated specific frequencies onto a laser ray, and with it influenced the DNA frequency, thus the genetic information itself. They proved chromosomes damaged by X-rays can be repaired, and the potential of the vibration and frequency waves on genetics to have more significant influence on the formation of organisms than biochemical processes. So what it's saying is it's about vibration and frequency, which is affecting our DNA. And this is really crucial to where I'm taking you in this presentation. Next slide, please. One of the other bits of information that I think is really crucial here is we have the capacity to hold incredible amounts of information in human DNA. Just 1 gram of DNA can potentially hold all the data stored on the internet. So what is stored in human DNA? And is it related to the so-called dormant DNA, previously called junk by geneticists? Because it's still not understood. Apart from about 5% of our DNA, the rest is still not understood. So what is this? What is being stored in our DNA? An amazing storage device with just 1 gram. So several DNA studies demonstrate intercellular, environmental, and energetic variables where we modify DNA at the same time. So we've got epigenetics that's also part of the mix. And some scientists now believe DNA is related to our higher spiritual selves. Ghost DNA, the DNA phantom effect. So we've got an understanding, at least with some scientists, that there's more going on than what we see is in our physical understanding. Next slide, please. So let me explain a little bit more about the scripts and the codes that were designed as an access tool. Tracy Taylor has the understanding to say this. What is going on when you're bringing in the codes? What is it that's happening when you're bringing in the star language? It's clearing and opening us to a higher consciousness. It's acting as doorways. It's to heal the damage done through learning of and the use of English language in particular, because that's programming us out of our awareness. Also the healing of physical structures of our human technology that are affecting us. Receiving and integrating brain hemispheres, which is the other part of becoming whole, bringing people into a state of alignment within the present moment. The process of writing the script, and it awakens access to multidimensional realms of creation, enabling the proper downloading of information. So we are getting, apart from everything else, and I'll go into more that's going on, it's acting like a clearinghouse, enabling us to reach once more our true nature, the higher spiritual selves that have come into this planet to act as galactic warriors, as well as galactic healers, so that we can actually come here to be what we are. So what's the cosmic agenda? And Lee Capitelli, a wonderful young lady I met 15, 20 years ago now, and she says this, that she's a homo novus that is, coming in to help. And there are many of you out there as well that would be called homo novus. It's trying to wake humanity up through your drawings, through your music, through the sacred sites. We're a species in transition. We're being upgraded to homo novus. Experiencer said that for her, this is her role. And as you can see, the energy beings, the drawing she has there, are one of the beings that she interacts with. And she's drawn some amazing images of the beings that she has interacted with, as many of the star seeds are doing, and doing such a wonderful job of waking us up. So Homo novus is a mix of Homo sapiens and ET genes. Homo novus' purpose is to uplift, to alter the offspring of sapiens into the next evolutionary step, humanity to Homo noeticus. Homo novus is a subtle way of mutating humanity to the next stage by our parent ET races that never saw us. We, the novus, our primary objective is to awaken humanity. Individuals, we have different roles to play to ensure this consciousness shift does happen. They have talents in sports, art, language, dancing, science, philosophy, mechanics, maths, and politics. And if you look at some of the amazing children now that are on the planet, that are coming out with all these gifts and all this awareness, they're bringing in, through their singing, through their awareness, through their talents, the new frequencies that are waking us up. And we also have to acknowledge that this part of these frequencies are acting not just in our DNA itself, but in our very nature, as the human body is 75% water. And so star language frequencies are altering the nature of the programmed water that affect. What effect does that have also on the human body? So these are all the ways that it's occurring. Next. So frequency and codes. This is what I would like to look at in terms of the codes, because I want to focus on that particularly in this presentation. Next slide, please. Awakening to our multidimensional abilities. We've always had them, but they've been suppressed in many cases, derided, mocked. You're probably told that you were a bit crazy, all those kinds of things. So what wakes you up? Sightings of spacecraft, encounters with the beings, downloads of information through encounters, past life connections and recall to ancestors. And I will be talking more about that in another presentation I'm doing for Portal to Ascension. Music, artwork, scripts, symbols, starlight languages, healing frequencies, channeling and telepathic communication, sacred sites, crop circles, shamanic encounters, near-death experiences, hypnosis, artwork. All of these are ways that we're being triggered to awaken, and it depends on the soul how they've chosen to do it and at what time. So what does that mean? It means perceiving spirits, and that may be different beings. Some of them may see them in a more religious terms, like for some people they'll say I'm seeing an angelic being, for someone else it will be a light being. What we have to understand is there's physical, there's interdimensional, there's extra dimensional, there's transdimensional, there are beings from our future. So we have all these different intelligences operating within our reality in different ways. Out-of-body experiences is another part of this. And what is really important, and one of the surveys we did with the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Free Foundation, we found out of the 4,000 that were surveyed, that 75% of their encounters were out of body. I'll say that again, 75% were out of body, only 25% were physical. Healing experiences and healing abilities are activated through these codes, through the vibration and frequency. Heightened intelligence, the number of people that said, I know things I never learnt in school. I have information from quantum physics right through to healing information. Downloads, heightened multidimensional senses such as telepathy, clairvoyance, clairaudience, past life recall on Earth and other planets, telekinesis, expressions of contact producing scripts, artwork, light language, etc. Ability to affect matter and mind influencing and remote sensing. So activation through frequency, sightings of craft. When you see a craft, there may be more going on. In other words, you may be deliberately shown a craft and something happens and you're not aware of it. There's often a download, or they're saying, hi, we're family. Are you taking notice of us yet? So when somebody says they've seen a craft to me, one of the questions I will say to them is, have you found yourself feeling different in any way since you saw that craft or whatever? Because often without them realizing, there's been a download or there's been an interaction, even though they're not aware of it. Healings and energy work, and the downloads, of course, of scripts and music. All of this is frequency. Next slide, please. So one more part of the science, which I think is really important because it helps us ground the information. And for me, it's very important for my left brain analytical side to work it out as much as I possibly can. And this is explaining now the multidimensional nature of DNA. Living chromosomes function like a computer, using endogenous DNA laser radiation to modulate certain frequency patterns, influencing DNA frequency, thus the genetic information. So DNA can cause disturbing patterns in a vacuum, producing magnetized wormholes, tunnel connections between entirely different areas of the universe through information can be transmitted outside of space-time. DNA attracts the information and passes it to our consciousness. So explains things such as precognitive insights, clairvoyance, intuition, telepathy, spontaneous and remote acts of healing, self-healing, remote influencing of weather. What we are is, through our DNA, we can access not only portals, but we can access information that we need by our intent or our frequency, which is multidimensional information. And that's how the Akashic records and all these other information, if you like, our information to understand our greater reality is available to us. We have the ability to access that. And then this is exactly what it's saying. It's a biological, multidimensional link to consciousness itself. Right, the next one. So hypercommunication is another word for this. And this is what Tracy explained. It should be borne in mind that the nature of extraterrestrial communication, that in a majority of instances, star visitors communicate with humans by telepathic transfer of mental images and concepts rather than by words and speech. Everything is made up of the same matter, resonating at different harmonics. So the ETs are able to communicate with us directly in thought on subatomic levels, and so activate the subconscious. The symbols are meant to communicate the nature of the macrocosm. So what we have, in essence, when we have a symbol, for example, I've been told many times, we are just seeing what seems to be a simple symbol, but contained in that multidimensionally may be enough information to fill a room with encyclopedias. And that is just one symbol. So this is how we have to understand what's going on when we bring these symbols in. And they're already then in our energy field once we see them or we create them. Next slide, please. Dr. Lena Olson, a molecular biologist, also looks at this from an experiencer point of view, but also as a scientist. And this is what she told me. The information of the donors and their background is there. It's a hidden key. And like a PC programmer, they hide their work. This key can be activated and the programmers know the person is ready to be contacted. The activated ones spread a signal to wake others up, and she feels this is now speeding up, which I believe is exactly correct. Okay. So hyperlanguage, light language, another step to telepathy. And this is all preparing us to operate fully as a multidimensional being, I believe. The drawing of the light language is by a young man, and the Alteration Collective by Antonio. And I'm going to, it should be the button to play it in a minute, but I'm hoping that we can. The language is more accurate representation of an individual soul vibration. Is the no? Oh, we haven't got the button. Okay, so you won't hear that then. It bypasses linear space-time. This is one of the steps from words to telepathic communication. I could probably play it from my computer, but I don't know whether you'd hear it very well. That's the only problem with that. Okay. Okay. I don't know why that's coming.
I think it is working, actually. Let me try it again, okay? I think the sound works. I heard it. Let me try it.
Okay.
Yeah, let me know if you don't hear it.
Summa tataka parakatika sita takata, summa takata, ritika tinga tapatunsa, Rokatingo taka parakatin sikataka parakatin sitataka matata, so ringa tataka paraka rikingi kopataka rakapataka parakatika singa taka, shung patakitin sikatika parakatin siltukuna pakataki sung patak, sura patataki, igrit sikata, sinta tatatata inkurupinchta. Ortikata, singatata, hopata, rukatinska, praktinska, hani, tsikkel, skropraktinska, praktinska, dikt skummatak, singatakat, sukkilskart, junatitsi, ringa, unity, sumba, rakupistaka palzer, sientataka, ratsit, sumbratitek, kumantek, nyurkatsinsawata, singarakotak, insules, raktingat,
Thank you. So the language is a more accurate representation of the individual soul vibration. So you're going to get differences, but those coming from similar star systems, for example, will recognize the frequency of their latest soul, their previous soul origin, and will resonate to that. But we're getting more and more of different types now, depending on where they've come in from, whether it's another dimension or this dimension. Okay, next slide, please. This was sent to me many years ago from the UK. And this is the reason I put this in is he was 3 years old when he did these symbols. He ended up putting them as a tattoo on his arm because he wanted to see if anyone would recognize them and he could feel a little bit more normal. And this is what he said: 3 times a week, I'd be woken by a glow, a woman with long blonde hair, green eyes, no beam me up Scotty. We'd be in a room, walls were metallic, which when touched, rippled like water. A window-like plasma screen showed stars, nebula, and symbols. When put in the correct order, would show me things. And there is one of the scripts. So if your children start to do or draw strange images or whatever that you're not quite sure of, it may be that this is relevant to them. And this is, we need to be a little bit more aware of that. Yes, the next slide, please. This is other children. One of them is her daughter's script about New Earth in a different galaxy. Not everyone will be going there. People don't know about this. It's a secret. And this little girl of 5 script sent a copy similar to her daughter's script of Dolores Cannon's book. So what I try to do, and hopefully it's helpful, is to give more validation and more information to help people with this, because it is so bizarre to many people when they start doing it, and they do wonder whether they're okay. Here we have 2 4-year-old, a 4 and a 5-year-old. The 4-year-old said to his father, I don't know what it means, but it's important. And somebody else, another 5-year-old, wrote this on his arm and said, help the parent understand. So when you're getting this with small children who are aware there's something significant going on with themselves in some way and not knowing how to tell you, it's just really useful to be aware that this may be part of their experience, particularly if you're an experiencer yourself, because it is in intergenerational lines. Here's another one from an 11-year-old in Canada. Again, there is the script. So it's just giving, some context to how this in the different generations is coming through. And there's no way that they understand what this is. This is from a graphic designer experiencer. One of them, he said, came from Sirius. But again, you see there's many different types of script, but some is very, very similar. So we have another one after this. This one I was fascinated by because of his understanding. A gentleman in his 70s in Ireland, and he said, studying his hieroglyphs, he's astonished at what he's done. The characters are totally consistent throughout, and not only flawless, but to his senses written with the bold confidence and authenticity of a piece of Zen calligraphy. He's honest, he doesn't have a clue what's written, but I do know when only one character is wrong, I throw it in the fire and I start over, and I don't know how I do it. So this is what also is fascinating. Some do have an intuitive understanding, and I think for many cases, not all of it is translatable. Some of it is, but some of it is actually a sensing and a feeling. Now, I'd like you to show you the process from Rochelle. I did this recording many years ago, but she explains what's going on. Can you tell us what you're writing?
Sure. It's really like translating information that has been lost, information that was known by ancient civilizations. I'm not able to give you a more accurate description of this writing. My style is really like a shorthand, if you like. It's probably quite messy. But within each character, again, like the languages, it's really like a block of information in itself. If you were able to get three-dimensional, depiction of each character, because that's how I see each one, that would be much more accurate. With all the information that comes through me, I'm aware of it being multifaceted. When I do healing work, I also will see coding in the air, in the energy field, and I may see this coding in either numbers, like you may see mathematical configurations, or I may see them as dots, or I may actually see them as portals. There are many different ways that you can view them, or you can see them as sound. It's the same with the writing too.
And what are you feeling at the moment that you're doing it? What is the sense that you have?
I feel very happy when I'm expressing in these ways, when I'm expressing through what people might call ET languages or ET writing. It feels much more natural for me than many of the human forms of expression. I guess this has to do with my dual consciousness and the fact that for me, it is really learning about being human rather than learning about being extraterrestrial.
Rather than being extraterrestrial, she's saying there. That's sufficient for that particular slide. But I've got another lady explaining as well. If we can go, this again should have audio with it. So what's interesting here with what the physicist is saying is many of the glyphs are actually formulas on their way to forming matter, and that's another clue to understanding what's actually going on. And this lady, Deborah Lapatina, she said, it's hard for me not to sing, as singing the frequencies are an integral part of the transmission. These languages carry billions of bits of information in a bridge format. Human language is linear. Speaking, singing, light language feels spiral and wave-like. Sensations are being awash with layers of knowing that is understood but cannot be articulated in a linear word string. Advanced beings use telepathy or direct thought transference. So we should have audio with this, I hope.
Asnati apota semo kianacheti sesina astata moda seapotiki I no toma kayata chati eya dama tai konache semo tiana astaka plus no ma chana mama kia aina tosi ama taya omo noiki istinata oma ka te echika astamo defne botui retike astu miate este Samo ikito atiata akoma daesanado metike.
Thank you.
I'm going to try to hold this camera.
This is Emma Strong, and she's explaining her process in her scripts. Again, notice the similarities.
I'm going to try to hold this camera like this, but it'll be shaking and moving, but I don't know how else to get the whole picture in. But this is me writing, and I don't meditate or anything. It just comes in.
As you can see, there's no hesitation. It's just continuous. And hopefully this will help those that are finding themselves doing this to get a bit of sense.
Then I turn it over just to give my hand more support. So I write in this direction. I don't think it matters to them where it stops and where it ends because, like I said, like I've told before, it tends to, it goes someplace once I get it down on paper, and I don't think it matters if I tear up the paper. Apparently the writing or what is said in the writing's always going to be. It just is, and it's already recorded. It's almost sort of backhand, and it sort of has changed over the years. But that's the writing. See, it more or less goes that way or that way. And they put a lot of dots. For some reason, I'm dotting things in there, and I'm not quite sure why that is, unless there's extra emphasis, or it's like, I don't know, that it could be a period at the end of the sentence. But anyway, that's my writing. And I do have to hold the pen sometimes more or less. It's easiest to hold it like this because I have more. If I were to write like this, you have to move like this. And that's not how they're grabbing it. They're wanting to use my whole, a lot more of this rather than this sort of thing. And it gives me better control because it seems like they grab the pen and it just is taken control of. But I can't tell if it's like perhaps an outside source or if it's actually just me, my higher self, doing it. Okay.
There we go. Two very interesting accounts of what's going on. And another wonderful soul who allowed me to tell her story in my latest book said that she also uses this language to help activate a person's DNA. Now, Dr. Batchelor is a medical doctor, even though she calls herself a shamanic MD now, had an activation in India and changed her life. And she said, I'm not sure of the origins of what she's bringing through. She just knows it holds a frequency to upgrade a person. She suspects her galactic team, together with past life aspects on Earth and elsewhere, incarnations of herself, bring this language forward and through her for the purpose of healing. So this is part of her work now, is to activate DNA. So healing with star languages. Dr. Lena Olson gives a scientific spin to this, which I think is very helpful. The spiral formations I've been working with in my water research are loading energy back into the water and helps healing, recharging, strengthens the energy field and the aura, whatever it's pointed at. Rightly used, it could be a bliss for humanity in rebuilding Earth. Healing works on a cellular level, whether you believe it or not. The healing from my hands affected the protein binding to a gene, P53, which plays a role in turning genes on and off. So this is, again, frequency. This is, harmonics. It's all part of what's actually going on our planet, and it's helping us understand.